if it's somebody else's fault, what your problem
Yeah.
is, you don't really understand that it's your problem.
Yeah.
And you need to be accountable for solving that problem.
Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation, where we talk about creating financial success with a special focus on business and real estate. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. Now, let's get to it. Hello and welcome back to Pillars of Wealth Creation. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. Excited to have Mitzi Childress on. Mitzi, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you for having me on. How
Yeah,
are you?
absolutely. I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. A little bit about our guest today. She is with Swift Sell Properties, focuses on mobile homes and land based in San Antonio. And Missy started with wholesaling, doing some creative deals, and shifted just by really her research and saying what is needed in the market and made a shift based on really the affordability needs. So, Mitzi, with that said, why don't you give our listeners a bit more about your background and then we'll dive in.
All right. Thank you. So I'm also an agent. I used to be a financial advisor. I was in finance for 10 years. So I know how to kind of follow the markets and do the research there. I started out with single family, got into apartments, did a lot of different creative deals, and now I'm in mobile homes and land, and I'm looking for more and mobile home parks.
Going from a financial advisor to a real estate investor, it doesn't seem like that I mean, it kind of seems like it should go well together, but I feel like a lot of financial advisors are like, no real estate. What made you start to think and like pivot to the dark side?
Well, a lot of financial advisors aren't even taught how to invest.
Yeah.
We were taught sales. We weren't taught how to invest.
Yeah.
And when
Right.
2007 hit, I knew how to look things up. So I could see that there was some downticks happening in real estate. And yeah, so I got out of it and put my clients in Brazil Natural Resources. So my clients were up 20% in 2008 while everybody was
Mm.
down 50%. So I've always been a forward thinker. So I can understand why financial advisors would maybe be against it sometimes. But I loved REITs. I actually started looking into real estate when I was 10. I started
Hmm.
reading the newspaper on real estate. And by the time I was 16, I realized there were patterns that I started recognizing. And so I tried buying my first house at 16, finally did it at 19. And I just loved real estate from the very beginning. I
Wow.
just love it.
You bought your first house at 19. Was that a house you lived in or is that a house you rented out?
Yeah, it was a house that I lived in. And then I flipped it while living in it and then I rented it out and I bought another one.
Love it. Love it. That's a great way to do things. Yeah, a lot of financial advisors, and I don't want to bash the everybody, right? Because there's some amazing financial advisors that are really
Right.
smart and know a lot about, investing. But a lot of them, like you said, you're trained to be a salesperson and you're trained to sell a product. And that's the basic financial advisor. And so a lot of them I feel like that I've met throughout the years don't know much about investing and they don't know much. You look at how they invest and you're like, well, wait a second, why would I take advice from you? Right.
Yeah.
Now, again, I have some friends that are and some investors of mine that are financial advisors that are really smart and know what they're doing. So I don't mean to bash the entire industry, but just because you're a financial advisor doesn't mean you know what you're doing.
No, that's with attorneys, doctors, all kinds of
Yeah.
real estate investors, all kinds
Yeah.
of people. Yeah.
Yeah. Love it. Okay. So you started out wholesaling and you mentioned creative financing. I want to talk through that because now is a great time to be looking at creative financing. So take me through what have you done creatively?
Well, the first apartment wholesale deal I did, the way that I had to get that done was talking the sellers into owner finance.
Hmm.
And they weren't for
How
that
big
at
of a
first.
deal is this?
It was I got it for 800,000. I sold it for 1.2.
Wow. Okay. And so like what, five, 6, 8 units, something like that.
26 units.
26 units and you got it and you sold it. Mom, that is crazy. That is so cheap. Okay. So so you got that deal and the seller sold it to you said seller financing.
Mhm.
Okay. And was that just a contract for deed or how was that set up?
No, we set it up through title with the note and everything. So they actually had a note with the seller, and then I also made a note for my assignment fee. So
Okay.
I got 140K up front within the first 30 days, and then I had to wait for the rest for a year, but I got 10% interest on it.
So because you wholesaled it, uh, but take me through that because you are buying it for 800K. You're selling for 1.2. Is that what you said? Somewhere around there.
I put it under contract for
Put it
800K,
under
and then
contract for
I signed
800K.
it to the new buyer for the 1.2.
Okay, and so, but you didn't buy it.
Mm-mm.
You assigned the contract. So then the seller, the original owner, they did you negotiate with them, with the original owner to on the financing, the seller financing?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So we had to add an addendum and get some more paperwork done once we changed over to seller financing. And I just assigned the seller financing contract.
So you got the seller financing. You said, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do the seller financing, and then you sold it to somebody for 1.2. They then got the seller. They basically you assigned the seller financing to them.
Hmm.
And did you then do some carryback as well, or
Yeah.
so then you added another layer, basically a second mortgage, to so to speak, to that?
Yes.
That's awesome. And you're able to make money up front and then you're able to make a spread. And do you still have it? Like, is that note paid off completely for you on your side?
Yeah, he was able to pay it all off within the year. I
Okay.
did it for a year
Okay.
with a balloon and charged 10% interest. So it was like 300,000 that was rolled over. And so I made like 26.66 a month off that one. And then when I got the full payment, when I got the back paycheck, I think it was like 379. So I made over 400K actually, but just because the interest and just how we had the
Yep.
fees set up. But yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
did.
no, that's awesome. I love hearing that creativity. And you could have done that so many different ways. You could have made that a long term and just continued the cash flow. You decided to do it to where you got it back in a year, which is obviously good because you get your money back quickly, velocity of money. But
Mhm.
you could have done it so many different ways. But just being creative and open and convincing a seller to do that. Was it a distressed property? Is that why there, or why was the seller okay with doing that type of deal?
So at first they wanted cash and they were completely against seller financing.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was August 15th is when we were supposed to close. August 1st, they reached out to me and was like, we need you to close like today. I'm like, well, tell me more. What's going on? And they said that they just don't have the money for the mortgage. They don't have a property manager anymore. Things are going downhill. They don't know what they're going to do after today if something's not done. And I was like, well, like I said, we can do the seller financing. This is how much we can give you down. Like, and they had already told me kind of how much they would need. And so I was like, this is what we can give you down. And then we can start payments. We can do another balloon payment in a month where you'll get another like this much. And then the rest of the payments will keep going. And then y'all be financed out within like, I think it was 2 years. Um, and they agreed. So we were able
Hmm,
to, and
that's great.
what was going on is they weren't getting any rents. So they had the whole family, like extended family, cousins, everybody just living in those 26 units. So nobody was paying rent. And so when we found that out, no bank would finance them.
Yeah.
And I told them that I was like, guys, y'all kind of, yeah, y'all didn't tell us that this is the way it was. And y'all were just giving us projected rents that you made up. We actually have to have you getting rents for a bank to loan on it. So this is really just an owner finance deal.
Yep.
And they understood it.
Yeah. obviously a sticky situation there and they needed to get out. Sometimes it's that way. I had a seller financing deal that the guy just was looking to retire and he actually was excited about the cash flow.
Mhm,
He didn't need the cash up front. He didn't know what he was going to do with it anyways. And so when he saw the payments that he was going to be receiving, he was like, I like this idea. We're gonna do that. He wasn't distressed. So sometimes it works out in distress situations, sometimes it works out in non-distress situations, but you
mhm.
don't know if it ever works out if you don't ask for it, is I think maybe the lesson. So
Yeah.
so you are you still wholesaling deals like you were before?
Yes. Yes. I'm still
Ex-
wholesaling.
And you shifted though to now focusing a lot of your efforts on mobile home and land.
Mhm.
Why did you shift your focus onto mobile home and land?
So there's a website called FHFA.gov.
Yep.
I go there for the housing stuff. And if you read through there, you're going to see that affordable housing is needed. They're tightening up on lending, especially on multifamily, I think is what it was saying. And um, so I was like, okay, landlords are going to not be buying as many properties right now. So people looking for places to rent, that's going to go down. And then on top of that, the houses have gone up in value, taxes have gone up, insurance has gone up,
Yep.
everything's gone up along with interest rates. So what you could have bought like 3 years ago or 2 years ago and had a decent payment on it, and had a decent house, you now have half the size of the house. And so I was just looking at it like people need affordable housing. They don't, there's not a lot of options. And I know people are talking about tiny homes, but if you've got 4 or 5 kids, that's not an option either. So what about these bigger families that don't want to live in a tiny home? Where are they going? And I was just like, well, in the outskirts where the land and the mobile homes are, taxes are lower, and so are the prices. So I can sell it like I just sold a 4 bedroom, 2 bath on an acre and a half for 255,000.
Hmm.
And it was only 20 minutes from downtown San Antonio. And if you got a house for that amount, like you're not getting a 4 bedroom house in San Antonio for 250,000. You know,
Yeah.
you may, but it's not going to be
Not a good
remodeled. This
neighborhood.
was completely remodeled. Yeah.
Sure. Sure. Interesting. So are you focused then on the mobile home parks or just the individual mobile home that's on a piece of property or both?
Both. Mhm.
Both. Okay. Um, and what about land? What do you see there? Because you mentioned land.
The land has so many niches and so many options. I know some people are like, no, I want to keep like a big option of single family and all of this, but really, even when you go into the niche, there's niches inside the niches. And with land, you can entitle the land,
Mm.
replat it, sell it off lots, or get it entitled for a developer. You can put a mobile home on it. You can develop your own mobile home park. There's just so many options. And I'll also just wholesale land, or I'll just buy it and resell it. So I do that as well. But yeah, I love land because there's so many options. And when there's no house on it, you don't really have a lot to analyze.
Yeah. Yeah. There's not a lot to look at. What do you look at? I mean, there's got to be some things that you say, this land deal makes sense or it doesn't make sense. What are you looking for with land?
I don't like buying off of a dirt road. So I
Mm.
look make sure that there's a road. Utilities are at least at the front of the property or on the property. What is the zoning and what is it close to? Like, what are my opportunities?
Yeah.
Um, and then, yeah, then I go from there on what's the best exit strategy.
Awesome. Awesome. As a wholesaler, like you have to be buying stuff. Everybody wants to buy a property for a discount. Everybody wants a discounted property. What are you doing that allows you access to discounted properties? Um, how are you finding them? How are you digging them up?
So I do it a few different ways. My favorite leads are the ones I pull directly from the county or drive for dollars.
Hmm.
So I have a team, and so I also pay for leads, and I pay for PPC. I can tell you other ones not to buy. No, I'm kidding. I can also, give y'all some recommendations. I really liked property leads. And I can send my affiliate code. I don't mind. No shame in trying to get some affiliate,
Yeah.
but I actually really like them. So I called on their leads, and I don't really cold call much of my business anymore. But I went ahead and called these and at an event, and within like 10 minutes, I had a contract. And I even had another guy that was locking up a contract with somebody else. I didn't call him in time, so I was like 2 seconds behind, and so he got the contract instead. But and it's like a $60,000 spread, and so within 10 minutes, and getting all the paperwork and all that, it's like 30 minutes, But within 30 minutes, getting something that had a $60,000 spread wasn't bad.
Yeah.
So I've bought more into it. I like those leads. Uh, and so we are doing that. And then we also have, I uh, I did create a website. So it's inheritedpropertyspecialist.com. There's no S on the end of specialist. I love inherited properties. So we are starting to cater towards the inherited property people as well. And I'm an agent, so we have a team of retail as well as wholesale. Um, and then with the mobile homes and land, because there's not a lot of people who know how to deal with those leads, and even lead sources, they tell you if you get a mobile home that comes in on this PPC, just let us know. We'll credit you back on your account. Well, it's given me an idea. I'm just going to reach out to them, tell them, give me your mobile home leads and I'll pay for them just at a discount. And then the ones that I've been getting so far are from other wholesalers and realtors, or like just in neighborhoods that I picked out 2 communities that have land and mobile homes. So the people actually own the land that their mobile homes on. Just between those 2 communities and the realtors and wholesalers, I get plenty of leads coming to me, and I haven't even
Hmm.
had to pay for any of the ones I've closed so far. So
Hmm.
it's been pretty nice.
But so yeah, relationships and connections. I mean, that's what you're
Yeah.
basing on. So talk about you said you don't do some of the stuff anymore. You've built a team. Talk about building the team and what you've been able to do to be successful there.
Okay. So I've built a big team before and I messed up. So I made a
Ah,
big mistake.
now we get into the good stuff. I want to hear about this.
I did not know really how to hire. I didn't know
Okay,
the personality test, any of that. I was just like, I needed people so badly. I was like, if anybody will just make calls, please make calls for me, or just
just
drive the
work for
dollars
me.
for me. Just somebody
Yeah.
help me. And so I read Traction. Traction's a lot to digest. And so I read it twice and I was like, okay, this is too much for me at the moment because of everything I had going on. And I actually descaled my business and
Mm.
worked on my own with synergistic relationships. I think relationships are the most important thing you can have in business. So like the so with the sorry with the relationships, I just did the business on my own for about 3 years, and I actually made more money than I had ever made, even with my team.
Mm.
And I got to travel more, I had more time, and me being a single mother, that was like really, it was really great because my 4-year-old's never gone to daycare. And then and I realized there's a lot of people that were in my original team that wanted to come back and work with me, and there was a lot of people asking me to work with me again, and I'm like, you know what, I'll start my team back up. And I read this book, Buy
Bye.
Back Your Time by
Yep.
Dan Martell. I think everybody should read that book before Traction. uh it's a very easy book to follow, and I hired my executive assistant, and she's been great so far. I did the predictive index test, and I also did the disc test on her, and she fit the position really well on her personality test, because some people can say what you want to hear during the interview, but the personality test reveals a little more. And so I do, and I do Indeed, or if I'm going to do a recruiter, I'll do a recruiter, but Indeed. And I also go through some interview questions that I've come up with, and it's just questions to make sure that they're accountable. So what's a problem that you've had that you in business, and how did you solve it? And if their answer is, oh, I shouldn't have been working with that person, or I shouldn't have allowed this person to do this, and they're blaming someone else, I'm like, okay, they lack accountability. And so that's not somebody, if it's somebody else's fault, what your problem
Yeah.
is, you don't really understand that it's your problem.
Yeah.
And you need to be accountable for solving that problem, if you're the one having the problem. And so I'll just ask, like, and are you into self-development? What's the last book that you've read? Because I'm looking for people who want to grow and not somebody who just wants to stay there and collect a paycheck. And then I also ask them, do you want to start your own business?
Hmm.
When I first started, I did not ask people that. And so I was training my competition, which I don't mind. I created synergistic relationships with them. I collaborate, I don't compete. I get inspired, if anything. But I went ahead and started asking people that question, because it's hard to build a company if you're never training anyone who wants to stay with you.
Yeah.
So I realized I am looking for employee mindset in my team. Except for my salespeople, I still want them to have more of a, want to work with somebody and not really run a company. That's the attitude I'm looking for, because I want a team.
Yep. That makes sense.
Mhm.
So the right seats on the bus. What about on the leadership side, on your part? What
Mm.
maybe mistakes did you make on the first, team that you had versus things that you're doing successfully today? So maybe start with some of the mistakes that you made.
I I had horrible leadership skills, and I thought I had good ones. So it was revealed to me, as I was starting the team. The first mistake I made was just trying to put anybody in the seat, and just see who worked out. My interview process was, oh, you want to start calling my leads? Okay, when can you start? And I would train them, and they would be super awkward and not a salesperson. And then I didn't let people go as fast as I should have. I was like this really big giver, people pleaser. So I was like, if I just keep training them, if I just keep training them,
Mhm.
they'll do better. And you have to look at your core values and what type of personality you need in that seat. You're never going to train somebody into a different personality.
Yeah, never.
I had to learn that. I thought you could train somebody and do what you needed. That's not true. You have to have that base foundation there. My other thing was, I'm not a micromanager, so I'm more hands off with my people. I just want to make sure I get my reports. And I think I was a little too hands off at one
Mm.
point. I was running my team from a different city, and I was just trying to get reports every day. And I didn't uphold my management to making sure they were sending it to me every day. I mean, I was telling them, hey, go ahead and send it to me. Why am
Yeah,
I not
yeah,
receiving it? But I wasn't getting rid of them or writing them up. There was no consequences
yeah.
to them not delivering.
No accountability there.
Yeah, which I now know that if they know what their job is and they're not delivering, have it, taught to them, make sure it's written down that you've had this conversation,
Yep.
and go from there.
Yep.
So I fire faster, I hire slower, the opposite of what I used to do. I do personality tests now, and also when somebody shows me something about themselves, I believe it the first time.
Hmm. What? Explain that. What do you mean? Like,
Character traits, like if somebody's willing to lie,
yeah.
or not be completely transparent. So that's in my core values, is honesty and transparency,
Yeah.
because I find that some people think they're honest, but they're leaving out some of the truth, and that's not being transparent. So I look for
Mhm.
that. And if somebody is willing to do something shady, like they're willing to do something shady another time too. And I look for character traits. And if your character isn't just going to change one off,
Yeah.
like in certain situations, yeah, maybe you do something that you normally wouldn't do, but that's still inside of you.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Love that. Where's the company going? What's the future look like?
Oh, I'm so excited. So we're building out the retail side of the team. So I have leads coming in to, and I bought these leads, but I have leads coming into my retail team so that they can lock up listings and buyers. And it's just building out that team. And it's going to be, the name is Tribeca. We're getting that all set up. I already have 2 agents, and that'll be exciting. And then my inherited property specialist, getting the SEO and the advertising up for that, because my favorite leads are the inherited properties, vacant, inherited, tax delinquent, city lien. You stack all 4 of those are my favorite.
Hmm.
And continuing to do the mobile homes and land, along with getting a mobile home and mobile home park, and then hopefully do some commercial development. But that's going to be about a year or 2 and is start doing the commercial development.
Is the idea to continue to wholesale everything, or um, do you want to hold and cash flow? What's your thought?
Right now, I actually buy and relist it.
Yep.
Most of mine, and some of them I'll flip, and then some of them I wholesale. But I only like commercial on buy and hold. I don't like single family. I mean, I have a mobile home in a mobile home park that I got for $4K. And once I have it rented out, it's like going to cash flow of $875 a month. I don't mind cheap mobile homes in a mobile home park that I'm making like $800, $900 a month off of. I'll do that and hold on to those all day long. Mobile homes are cheap to fix up.
Yep.
It's all good. But I don't really like single family. And I'll owner finance if anything,
Yep.
if I want to hold a note.
Yep.
But um, commercial is the thing. I own one commercial building and I have a store in there that I also own. So I rent it out to
Hmm.
myself. But I want to buy more commercial like that, where I start stores and businesses and hold the commercial real estate.
Love it. Love it. Mitch, a couple last questions. What are some, like, daily habits, things you do, whether it's in morning, evening, midday, whatever things you do that you find to help you with your success?
I'm very much into energy. So I'm meditation, I'm energy, frequency, vibration, that kind of stuff. And I teach on it too. I have a class called Get Your Shit Together. It's done pretty well for people, but I feel like awareness has really helped me. I tell people, don't think, be aware. Thinking it'll get you stuck in the same problem. Being aware will give you the next step. But I think I get up, I look in the mirror, and I just talk positively to myself. I talk about what my goals are, but I say it like it's already happened for me. And I do it in an attitude of gratitude. And then I like to write down about 7 things that I'm really grateful for. Um, and I do try to change that up every day. Um, and then I read like 8 to 10 pages of a book, and I drink my herbal tea during that. And then I'm a yoga teacher and meditation teacher too. So I like to sit there and do a short meditation and do some stretching, and then I'm ready for my day.
Love it. Love it. Thanks for that. All right. Favorite book that you can recommend to our listeners? You've already given us 2 of them, but now you're gonna have to come up with another one because you did them out of order. So
I love so many.
yeah.
I'm very much a book person. If it's going to be business and sales, I love Psycho-Cybernetics and Zero Resistance Selling. Same author, amazing. Because really, what holds people back is their mindset. It's not lack of information. Most of the time, we don't even know what we're doing before we do it anyways. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're adults.
Right.
There's so many things that
Right.
we've had to do that we didn't know what we were doing.
Yep.
And so you can't say, oh, I didn't know how to do it, and that's why I didn't do it. Well, then you would have never filed your taxes. You know, you would have never drove your car. Like you would have never walked. But
Yeah.
we all had to start somewhere. So it's not about lack of information. It's the mindset and whether you think you're worthy of it or not.
Love it. All right. Last question before we wrap up. What are your 3 pillars of wealth creation?
Health, wealth, which I consider money, and and relationships, a mindset. So
So
maybe I
you
should
got
just say
4
that.
now.
I know. Oh gosh. Okay. Mindset. instead of relationships, because the right mindset's going to attract good relationships. So
Ooh,
mindset,
I like that
money.
reasoning. I like that reasoning. I mean, relationships are so powerful and so definitely can fit into your fourth pillar, but I like the idea that the right mindset is going to create the right relationships. Awesome. Mitzi, how can our listeners get in touch with you, learn more about what you got going on, connect?
You can reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram at Mitzi Dyane, MITZIDYANE, or even my email, Mitzi, MITZI at SwiftSellProperties.com.
Awesome. What last words of advice, thoughts that you want to leave our listeners?
I like this one. Whatever your problems are also where your limiting beliefs are.
Definitely. I love that. That's the quote of the day right there. I'm probably going to just post that on Facebook, but I'll give you credit. Don't worry about it.
Feel free.
Yeah. Well, Mitzi, really appreciate it. Love the story and keep man, just keep on doing this. This is great. It sounds like you guys are doing some excellent things. And want to keep on watching the journey. So I think I saw something from you on Facebook and I was like, I got to reach out to this gal and I got to have her on the podcast because you're doing some cool stuff. So I really love it.
Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me.
And have a fantastic rest of the day.
Thank you. You too.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you being a loyal listener. Say, I would love to have you go on to our Facebook page and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Go on to iTunes or wherever you listen and give us a rating and review. Don't forget to subscribe. Your rating and review just helps us push this out to more and more people and continue to grow our audience and hopefully positively affect a ton of people out there that really need this and want this. So the other thing I've got for you is a free ebook on my website. So go on to venturedproperties.com, and download our free ebook on real estate and on syndication. And I've got some data points in there, some really good stuff for you. So I'd love to have you take a look at that. It's free. I'm not expecting anything from it. And also, look, if you want some help in multifamily, want some help learning, growing, getting your business off the ground, I would love to talk to you about what it would look like to work with me potentially and see if that's a good fit. So you can go to coachwithdex.com and check that out. And we can definitely have a call. Thanks a lot for listening. You make it a fantastic rest of the day. I'll catch you on the next episode.